So, you are welcome to Yin. It's a bit of a chilly night, so I could have done with a few more layers actually, surprisingly enough, but anyway. Now we're here, hopefully it will start to build a little bit of heat in the body. This is actually an earthing practice, so we will be working a lot with the spleen and the stomach meridians, stimulating those, and a little bit of gallbladder too. And we are going to need, I'm suggesting a couple of blankets or something just to pop under the knees in particular, just if you're on a hard floor. It's just really nice to have that, and always handy to have a couple of pillows to hand, and just make sure you have a little bit of extra space around the mat, because you'll probably extend yourself a little bit beyond it, so just make sure it's nice and safe all around you. And you may need a couple of blocks, or pillows will do if you don't have them. And we are going to start on our knees, so whatever padding you actually want, go ahead and get that set up now. So we're going to start in child's pose, okay? So taking your knees nice and wide apart, wider than the hips, and bringing the heels closer in together there. And you're just simply going to fold forward, extending the arms down on the floor in front of you, bringing the head down to the floor. So to modify for this, any knee issues, obviously the blanket underneath the knees is always a bonus. If you have another one, you can roll it up and have it behind the knees so that any compression is a little less intense as you come forward, and bring the hands shoulder distance apart, head down on the floor. So if you have any little restrictions there, perhaps in the low back, feel free to bring the head onto a block so it's not down so low. And particularly if you've got something behind your knees and you find bringing the sit bones close to the heels is tricky, then go ahead and put something under the front, the head part of your body, because you're going to be up a little bit higher, okay? And so once you get into position, just be prepared to stay here for a few minutes. So make sure you're comfortable, any tweaking that you need, and we'll just start to connect with the breath. Okay. Slow and steady. Good, and visualizing the back of the body and wrapping your breath around. See if you can swell out the mid-back as you inhale. And then feel the shoulder blades lift off the back almost and spread apart on the inhale, and then exhaling, hugging in, so draw the shoulder blades down the back a little bit, and corseting in around the ribs. So inhaling, expanding, and exhaling and contracting. So keep going like that. It's easier to visualize the breath in the back of the body when you're in a forward fold. This is less restrictive. And you also feel a little less sort of pressed down into the earth and restricted in movement and breath, if you feel that the whole space around your body is available for you to expand into as well. Okay, so you're doing really well. So bringing that breath all the way down, as if it was coming into the belly. Good, and just notice any tension there in the body. You may be aware of it in the groins. And see if on the exhale you can release that a little bit down, if the leg bones get super heavy. Just let the shoulders soften a little bit, those elbows can come down into the floor. So it's not a yang version of child's pose. It's a nice relaxed one. So think of it as melting downwards, grounding down into the earth's energy. So you should feel a slight compression there on the inner thighs and working down the legs there, and just along the tibia, from the ankle up the tibia and further up the leg into the groins. And this is where the spleen and the stomach meridians are, roughly on the insides of the legs and just along the medial line. And they work the whole way up the midline then of the upper trunk. So just tuning into sensation in the body. Use the breath to help soothe you as you are preparing to stay in longer poses than you may have been during your day. So it's firstly the ability to find stillness can be the greatest challenge, and then just obviously holding your body in particular poses pose another challenge indeed. So just play with it, modify as you need. Okay. So another 5 rounds of breath here. Okay, so from here, you're going to stay roughly in this position, but there's a few modifications you can take as we move into a half frog pose. So I'll give you the pose, and if you don't like it, I'll give you an easier version afterwards, okay? But what I'm going to do is just move my blanket out to the side so I have something for my knees, because I'm tall, so my knees are going to just fall outside the lines of my mat there. Okay, so what we're going to do here is you're in the child's pose, and you're just going to lift the hips up off the heels, if they weren't already there, and then sort of shift your weight forward, okay? Now for this one, you're going to keep your heels closer in, so keeping your heels as they are, and then shifting your weight forward. You can extend your arms, okay? And just put the head on the floor, perhaps on a block. So this is you're going to really be aware of this sensation here in this pose on the insides of your legs. So I'll give you an alternative, and that's just a prep for half frog, which is quite nice and quite effective. So you can just extend your left leg out on the floor behind you and keep the right leg bent, and you can actually take the shin out a little bit too, all right? And just rest either on stacked arms or on a block or pillow underneath you, all right? So that's the alternative, and I'll take the timer from here, and we're just going to stay here. 3 to 5 minutes is good. See how we go. Alright, so quite a challenge. See if you can melt the body down towards the ground. Leave the breath nice and relaxed, so keep using Ujjayi breath. And go ahead and modify if halfway you've had quite enough. So feel yourself surrendering down towards the ground more and more. And the blankets are very comforting there under the knees. Now you may choose to come into a full frog pose if you're comfortable enough to do so. And that just involves taking the shins out. So just taking the shins out, they're parallel with the edges of the mat there, and relaxing down into it even more, opening up the hips. And if you are in the easier modification, lying prostrate on the floor, just shift over to the opposite side there. Okay. So nice and easy does it, no hurry. This grounding practice is really, really good if you're feeling quite anxious. Is that sort of introspective energy about it, that grounding down of energy into the earth. And it just feels so nurturing, you know, as you just allow yourself pour down into the earth, leaving you with a great sense of peace and equanimity at the end of it. So just feel the body easing itself out. Okay, so from here, I'm just going to gather your hands underneath your shoulders with your elbows bent in by your sides, and just gently bring yourself up and out, moving the knees in towards each other. Oh, new hips. Just come up to sit for a sec. Feels pretty good. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to come and lie on our side. Just get these blankets out of the way. And come and lie on your side with your two knees bent and stacked over to the left there. Okay? All right, so your knees are stacked over to the left, and then you can come down on your elbow. Okay, so I'm just going to do a version of cat pulling its tail. And then you can just extend the top leg out. You can keep the knee bent if you like, or straighten it, purely optional. And then you take the bottom heel out behind you, the bottom leg out behind you. Okay, so you can feel this tug down the side of the left body there. That's pulling on the gallbladder meridian on the left side. Let that top leg be nice and heavy. It's floating up there in midair. Pop a blanket or a block underneath it. Okay? And then if it's available to you without your entire hamstring of your left leg going into spasm, you can reach down and grab a hold of the left foot. Okay? And then open up the chest towards the ceiling. So you can stop there at any point along the pathway into cat pulling its tail. Alright, and I'll start the timer. Good. So you may feel a little bit like you're dumping into the left shoulder, which you kind of are if you're trying to really relax into it. So if it's available to you, I would suggest lying all the way down onto the ground if that's comfortable. You can also help yourself do that by taking a strap if you have one to hand and lassoing that leg, or just releasing it all together. Okay? So you have a few options there to adjust. So I'll just come on down myself. I find it much more comfortable down here, but not everybody does, and that's fine. So spin, chest up towards the ceiling. And the shift from the emphasis of sensation here is really into the spleen and the stomach meridians running up the midline of the torso here. You can really feel that slight tugging. And then you can also feel the right side of the body even more when you're lying down on the ground. So just become more aware of where the sensation arises in your body depending on the pose that you're in, and then by doing that you become much more aware of where you're working in the body and what organs are connected with that. So just to say, if you are actually still up on your elbow, you can always take a little support there underneath, because you will start to tire a little bit, so you can actually pop it under the left ribs, okay? So that you're not dumping into this shoulder so much. So you've got lots and lots of options there to modify. And the beauty of that means you can stay here that bit longer and just enjoy all of the therapeutic benefits of each pose even more. So with that in mind, just softening the skin on your face as you move from one breath to the next. And just enjoying the moment and the pause between the moments as you allow your body to really stew in each pose. See if you can allow the neck and head be relaxed. Yeah. So no strain. Almost there. Another 5 rounds of breath, please. And then exhale, just release that nice and gently. Roll to face towards the left again. Stack the 2 knees and gently push yourself up. And then we'll just take it over to the second side. So depending on what modification you enjoyed the most, more than likely going to be taking the same one on the other side. So lying on the right side, stack the 2 knees to start. Okay. I'm going to come up on my elbow here with my lovely bolster underneath my ribs, which is a great support because it's a long hold. And then just take the top knee down in front of you, either to the floor or onto a block. Grabbing the, reaching down for the left foot or lassoing it with a belt or a strap. And then take the left arm bone back so that you can spin the chest up towards the ceiling. Okay? Good. If you want, come all the way down onto the floor straight away or take a few rounds here of breath before you go down. You can also extend that top leg straight out on the floor in front. There's the timer. Okay, don't worry, I'll take that time off. All right. Now, so I've come down to my elbow here, that's another kind of halfway measure. Keep working on spinning that chest up towards the sky. And I'm just going to sink down a little bit further down. Okay. All right. So here I'm just taking a hold of my top foot. I can also have several belts working this one if needs be, working as arm extenders. So there's lots of modifications you can take. And then maybe turn to look over the left shoulder if indeed you want more again. So no strain. Come back from your edge and then let yourself melt a little bit. And in these longer poses, it's very easy just to let the mind go off, but try and stay with the breath and stay with the body, really come into the present moment. It really does help you feel better at the end of the practice. It really keeps you in a little bubble. Okay, so we'll just take 5 breaths here. And then just gently release the legs, bend the knees and stack them again. Roll into your right side, gently bring yourself on up. Okay, now we're going to come on to your knees. And we're going to take a dragon sequence. So I quite like having this prop underneath my knees as I work through this. So I'm going to start with my right foot first. Stepping it forward, have a block with you as well. Okay, so now step the right foot forward, bring the bolster or the pillow, whatever you have there, just in front of the left knee. And you're going to start with your 2 hands on the block or on the floor on the inside of the front foot. Let the hips sink down, dragon. So we'll just take a few moments here and then we'll take a low flying dragon, perhaps come down a little bit further towards the floor, perhaps onto elbows. And just gently draw the shoulder blades back so that your heart starts to move forward so that you don't dump into the shoulders so much. And make sure that the back toes are pressed down into the floor there. Keeping your spine nice and long. Feel free to just move and gently sway from side to side. I should really press the start button on the timer. Now, if you'd like to come down onto the floor, perhaps take the hands down onto the floor. You can toe heel your right foot out a little bit further towards the outer rail of the mat and even roll onto the outer edge of the foot. Okay, just let the hips sink again. Now, I'm going to bring my elbows down onto the block to start the low flying. You may stack a couple of blocks on top of each other to come up a bit higher, or you may prefer to have the elbows on the floor. But whatever you are, again, try not to dump into the shoulders, so lift the heart forward. It's as if you're shifting the weight forward a little bit. Subtle changes make a world of difference. And then soften. Let your right thigh bone get really heavy. Again, feel free to sway a little bit, find some micro movements in there, and they will really help just to juice up into the joints, creating that little bit of compression in there, and with that the invitation to hold on to a little bit more water and a little bit more lubrication within the joints as you create a little bit of tension and stress in the joints to really help reduce that hyaluronic acid. Okay, so just for the last few minutes, option to stay down here if you're really enjoying it, or if you need a little breather but want to stay in your dragon, come up into a high flying dragon by toe heeling the front foot in towards the midline again, and pop yourself up onto your front thigh, just sinking the hips here. Lift the heart and find length in the spine. That's it. Just 5 more rounds of breath. Softening down. And then exhale, just gently shift the hips back. And coming onto your knees, take a seat for a moment before you set up for your second side. I'm going to switch around so you can see what I'm doing more clearly. Okay. And then when you're ready, set yourself up. Okay, now left foot forward. Now sink the hips, block there on the inside of the foot, hands to the block or to the floor. Go ahead and make the hips a little bit, the space between the legs a little bit wider by rolling onto the outer left foot or toe heeling the foot out to the edge of the mat a little bit more. Peel the shoulder blades back onto the back so there's no dumpage into the shoulders. So I really don't feel immense pressure in my back knee. The reason is I'm really leaning forward onto this bolster here, and that's taking all the pressure off. So it's actually, the pressure is going in above the knee, if truth be told there. Okay, make sure those back toes are pressed down into the floor. Now you can come down into a little low flying dragon there if you like, or stay where you are, that's optional. If you come down a little lower, see if you can find length in your spine and keep the heart lifting forward, because again there's a little bit more risk of dumping into the shoulder girdle. So heart lifts forward, gaze into the middle distance or down. No stress, no strain. Back to the breath again, please. And just notice the skin on your face. It's very telling of any tension. Just notice around your eyes. Can you make it a little softer there? Maybe your jaw. Maybe you can swish your jaw left to right. Ah. And maybe a big exhaling sigh through an open mouth. Feel your energy just sinking downwards to the earth. And again. Now, starting to feel quite good, hopefully. Okay, so for the last minute of the practice, you could optionally stay here or come up into a high-flying dragon. So pop your left foot in a little bit towards the midline so you're more stable. Bring your hands up onto your thigh, let the hips sink and find length in the spine. You'll feel a bit more of a tug up the middle of the torso there again, up the midline of the torso as the hips sink forward and the tailbone moves down towards the earth. So just another 3 or 4 rounds of breath here. Exhale, just shift the hips back. Well done, everybody. Come on to your knees. Take a little breath. Okay. And we are going to come into sleeping swan or folded pigeon. So you can prop that up a little bit or a lot too. So I'll give you some tips as we go through. I'm going to take a little blanket and pop it up for my head and shoulders there. Option to use a bolster as well. Okay, so just coming onto all fours, I'm going to lift my knees up, bend the right knee, bring the knee of the right leg behind the heel of the right hand and open up the right foot behind the heel of the left hand. Then just walk the left leg back. The option is to take a little support under that right thigh. Okay, and then come and fold yourself down into the sleeping swan. Second option, take that bolster right in close and lie yourself over it. Okay, really nice. If this doesn't feel good in your knees, come and lie down on your back instead and take thread the needle legs. So lying on your back, cross the right ankle over the left knee and just take a grip around the back of the left thigh. Thread the needle legs. Okay, so same work, but less on the knees. So, I personally prefer sleeping swan today, so that's what I'm going to be taking. We're only going to take a short hold here, just 3 minutes. So get yourself comfortable, and you can really feel this working, particularly up the gallbladder meridian, but also inside the legs, into the stomach and spleen meridians too, and well, the kidney meridian as well. So just resting down. So any pressure or pain in the right knee is just not acceptable. Come back onto your back if that's the case. Now you may be lucky enough to get your right heel in towards the groin area. That may or may not happen, so it's just a little extra bit of work into the meridians, into the inner body. Just another 5 slow rounds of breath here on this side, and we'll switch up to the second side. So it's very quick. 3 minutes flies by. Exhaling, releasing down towards the earth. Okay, so gently bring yourself up, hands underneath your shoulders, lift yourself up, roll the toes of the back foot under, press back via downward facing dog, and then slide the left knee behind the heel of the left hand, opening up the left foot behind the heel of the right hand. Then just gently take that right leg back, possibly a block under the bent leg for support. And then either lying on the bolster or a couple of blocks or down on the floor. Okay, so breath in, walk those hands back underneath you, bring yourself up. Well done. Just coming up onto all fours, You can take that little blanket there underneath your knees. We're just coming into melting heart pose, or puppy pose, as it's well known. Okay, now, knees hip distance apart. Keep the hips high over the knees, and then you can bring your elbows down to the floor or your forearms down. Okay, sink the heart down towards the floor, and then option is to keep the hands down. If you want more, taking Samastahi hands behind the back of the head, leaning the weight back. Okay, so you can feel your shoulder blades moving down towards each other as you energetically draw your elbows back in towards the knees. You feel a slight tone in the belly and the pelvic floor, and your sit bones have turned right up towards the ceiling. So the more you tone your belly, the more you feel a gentle tug down the midline of your torso. And then the more you press the elbows down and energetically draw them back, you feel that gentle tug down the sides of your body into the gallbladder. Just take another 5 rounds of breath here. And then exhaling, just releasing, coming back up nice and gently. Okay, so we'll just take we're just going to shorten a few poses here, taking half saddle. So let's take an optional support for our elbows. And okay, so just going to extend the left leg out, and you can bend the right leg. So there's several different modifications for this one. The top of the right foot can be pressing down into the floor, just as if you were doing half hero pose, or some people prefer it even wide out like this. The main thing is I don't want you having any pressure in the knee, so work with what is more comfortable in your body. If you're going closer to a half hero sort of pose, bring the flesh of that right calf out to the side a little bit more, and the right knee works its way directly down towards the end of the mat. Now, options are elbows back on your bolster, and you'll find you can support your low back there as well, the lumbar spine, and just work towards creating that opening in the front inner thigh on the right side. Feel free to bend that left leg also. That can feel quite nice too. I was going to say that it can feel less intense, but not really. So it's optional. And if you want to come all the way back and lie down on the floor, that's also perfectly good. But we're not going to be here for too long. Another minute 40. So you really feel like your hips have been properly juiced up after this practice.
Anyone who has compression in the knee, it's much more comfortable to bring that right foot right out to the side, or even press a thin blanket under behind the knee. That's also another option. So just don't hurt the knees, be gentle. So just another 4 rounds of breath. And then exhale that out and just set yourself up for the second side. So you're going to sit up nice and tall, release that right foot down. Ooh. Just enjoy that nice sense of warmth and blood flow in there as things free up, and then just take it onto the second side. And one side may have different needs to the other, so just honouring that. Okay, I'm pulling out the flesh in my right thigh because it makes me feel a little bit more grounded onto the ground there, so onto the mat. All right, so here we go, off we go. And just slow down. I mean, if your body isn't responding the way it normally does, perhaps you're slightly dehydrated, perhaps the body is tired, or there's tension in the muscles, there's just multiple reasons why body won't do what mind wants it to do. And just honouring body, because if you go easily, go more gently, in the long run, your body will actually make way for you, and even if it doesn't, that's okay. So it's about finding some ease, and when the body feels good, you feel really good too. Go ahead and come lie down on the floor if that feels right. You can take your arms up and overhead, whatever feels really good in your body. About another minute 50 here, or another minute 40. Just moving the tailbone down towards your toes or your right foot really helps increase that sensation in the front of that left thigh. So just playing with that perhaps a little bit, just gently tilting the pelvis back. But stopping if the sensation is too intense around the knee. So another 4 rounds of breath here. Okay. And then exhale, just gently lifting up, releasing that left leg. And you can actually come back on your elbows here. Take the feet wide apart, knees wide apart, and just gently rock the knees alternately from side to side. So windscreen wiper pose. Just giving you your poor hips and legs a little release there. Getting the blood flow working through them again. All right. So let's come and lie down in our Shavasana. You may want to take that bolster and put it behind the backs of your knees for that. Okay. Turn off my timer. Okay, so come on, lie down. Extend those legs out, turn the toes out and heels in. Make sure if your legs are, your backs, your knees are on the bolster, that your feet are on the floor. Cover yourself with something warm if you need it. Then just rotate the palms of your hands up and maybe closing the eyes if it feels good. Just feeling the back body pressing down into the earth, and just feel the earth rising up to support you. And that's even if you are on the first or second or 10th floor. Just imagine or sense or feel the quality of the energy of earth. Take a breath in through the nose. And as you exhale, just let yourself release down into the earth. Just let your breath now be natural in rhythm and pace. And take rest. So if you would like to stay here a little bit longer and rest on, go ahead. Otherwise, gently just roll to your right side and push any bolsters and blankets out of the way. Notice how your body feels after your practice. When you're ready, gently press yourself up to a seat. And then we just gather the hands together at the heart space. Bow your head inwards. And release your practice, breathing in. Exhaling through an open mouth. Grounding down into the seat beneath you. And I'll say namaste. Thanks for practicing.